If you hear anything going on outside my room, or like outside the window, I'm sorry, I can't do anything about it. Welcome back, guys. So for the past week and a half, I've been testing out the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus, and I have a lot of thoughts about it, but before we get to those, let's go over the tech specs of this thing. This thing has two A75 and six A55 CPU cores, all clocked at 2 GHz, a Mali G52 GPU clocked at 850 MHz, 128 gigabytes of internal storage, and a 4500 mAh battery. It has support for Bluetooth 5.0 and Wi-Fi 5 with a USB-C port and an SD card slot on the bottom, and a headphone jack and micro HDMI port on the top. It has a 750 by 1334 touchscreen, and it comes with the Android 11 pre-installed right out of the box, as well as having support for fast charging. It retails for $150, which is $20 to $30 more than the 3, depending on the configuration. The only things different between this and the 3 are the price, battery, CPU, GPU, amount of RAM, and that's it. Which sounds like a lot, but as I'll get to later, the differences between this and the 3 are much smaller than you would expect. The hardware on this thing feels really nice, but there are a few downsides I want to go over. The ABXY buttons seem to be dome style buttons compared to the clicky buttons that were on the 3. It's not the end of the world, but it's just confusing to see them change them like this, considering the buttons, the clicky buttons on the 3, were such a well-liked aspect of the 3. Everyone, including myself, seemed to like the clicky buttons so much. The joysticks and the D-pad feel the exact same, which is great because they felt great on the 3 and they still do here. And the D-pad is especially great because you're probably going to want to play 2D games on this thing, and since the D-pad feels so great, you're going to love playing 2D games on it. I wrote in my script that the start and select buttons, the power button, and the L1 and R1 buttons feel clickier than the ones on the 3. I think I was just out of it or something because they feel the exact same now that I look back on it. Which is great because the hardware on the 3 feels so nice. I just don't know why I thought I noticed a difference when I don't. The triggers on here actually do kind of feel like they need more pressure to be clicked down than the ones on the 3, which I guess is nice because like then you won't accidentally click it if you're like holding the device like this, but it just wasn't necessary. Once again, none of this is a big deal. The device still feels great. I just wanted to point it out because I find it weird that there are some differences between the 3 and the 3 Plus in terms of hardware. Most notably, the ABXY button. It's not any less comfortable to use, so if you already have a 3 and you're thinking of getting a 3 Plus, it's gonna feel the exact same. It's noticeably smaller than like most of the devices I own, except for the Powkitty ones. But if you have something like the 2 Plus or another small size handheld, this should be a good upgrade since you have like a candy bar like design, like a rectangular design. It's comfortable to use, but the lack of ergonomic grips and stuff like that can be kind of annoying, but you're using a small device. Why would you want ergonomic grips on a device this size? That would take away some of the portability of it all, and then it wouldn't be able to fit into like something like your pocket if you're a man. I know women don't really have big pockets. Yeah, I just found these hardware changes weird, and I really like the design. So the hardware is still good, and everything I said in my last review still stands. Moving on to the software, this thing just uses Android. And like on the 3, they give you the option right out of the box whether you want to use base Android, the AOSP launcher, or if you want to use the Retroid launcher, and I chose the Retroid launcher. I went with the Retroid launcher because I only really plan on using this for emulation. And even if I was using Android gaming, I can access it through the launcher, and I just like how the launcher looks. But even if you choose AOSP, you can always just launch the Retroid launcher or exit the Retroid launcher by going back enough times. So if you chose the Retroid launcher and you want to go back to the normal Android, you can always just do that. The bare Android skin would probably be better for like a bigger device like the Ein Odin. I chose it because this is a small device. It's like a Game Boy Advance, and I'd want to kind of have games laid out as if I'm just going to play like a Game Boy game, a N64 game, a Gamecube game. So I want them laid out as if it's a game console and not as if I'm using an Android tablet. The battery life is great. I haven't done many tests with it, but I left it in my backpack for 36 hours by accident in sleep mode, and it only lost 30% of battery. So I think that's pretty good. It's about 1% per hour, somewhere around that. You get the point. Something else that I think is really great is that Retroid gives you a set like list of apps that they recommend you use once you start up the device and get into the setup sequence. The emulators they suggest are probably the best ones to use on this device, especially for the higher end systems. I've already gone over these emulators in the past in my other reviews, but I like to mention them because of how unique it is and how nice it is for Retroid to include them like that. An app I went over in my last review of the 3 that I want to go over again here is the Dolphin for Handheld emulator. And the reason I think that's so unique and so just interesting to have is because if you go into the settings and you want to change the graphical quality, you can set it to less than 1 times. You can set it to as low as 0.3 times. It's really cool because if you have a GameCube game or a Wii game that doesn't run at full speed and you want to try and get it to run at full speed, you can lower the resolution to as low as 0.3 times to get it to run well. Now, I'm not a big fan of this. I usually don't like lowering the graphical resolution lower than 0.8 times, because then I feel like it gets too blurry and the drop in graphical quality is not worth the playability of the game. You might be different, and that's fine. I'm just giving my review and my opinions, and I just think the emulator looks cool and the software really functions well, which is why I like this device so much. The software is snappy, the UI is nice, and I like how the Retroid launcher is set up so that it's like a game console. It looks nice. Speaking of emulation, why don't we talk about that now? So in terms of being an upgrade from the 2 Plus and the 3, it's for sure an upgrade. Some GameCube games will actually now run at full speed without any settings changed, without changing any settings. And I'm gonna do a gaming showcase here in a second of different games running on emulators, but I just want to say something. If any games ran on the 2 Plus or the 3, they're gonna run on here, obviously. But they're gonna run better, either with better graphics or a better frame rate, or just run at all, because some games that didn't run on there will actually now run on here. I am kind of disappointed that it's not that much of an upgrade from the 2 Plus and the 3. There definitely is a difference. You can tell. A lot of games will run better if they ran it all on the 3, but I just wish it was more of an upgrade. It is only $150, so what can you really ask for in that price range, especially as only like a $30 to $20 upgrade from the 3? All right, let's get into some emulation testing. Alright, so we've gone over everything I really want to say about this device, except for the elephant in the room. So let's go over that for a second. If you're sick of hearing me talk about this, just skip to the next chapter. I'm putting chapters in this video, hopefully. For the rest of you that are staying, let's talk about it. It wouldn't be a complete review if I didn't complain. The big thing that I've mentioned several times in this channel, if you've watched any of my Retroid Pocket 3 Plus videos, is that this device came out way too early. This thing released 2 months after the 3 released, which is annoying for plenty of reasons. Once again, I know you're sick of hearing me talk about it, but let me just give you this perspective and then I'll move on. Imagine if Apple, biggest phone manufacturer in the world, probably, worth something like $2 trillion. Imagine if they took last year's phone, gave it like a new shell, like maybe like the edges are a little more round and it looks better, but it has the same exact internals. Nothing's changed. They claim there's something's changed, but it really hasn't. And then imagine 2 months later, they come out, they say, oh, here you go, guys. This phone has the exact same shell as the one we just released, except the internals are now twice as good. That's gonna piss off so many people. That would piss off so many people because that phone costs so much money that people just bought and now they're turning around and saying, oh, here's another one. That's a more extreme example of what's going on here, but I think that's a pretty good perspective to give because I know everybody would be mad if Apple did that. So I don't see why some people are giving Retroid a bit of a pass. But anyways, let's get on to the conclusion. I really like the design and hardware of this thing. It's a nice candy bar design that I really dig. Aside from some weird downgrades like the buttons, like I mentioned, it is a nice design and I really do enjoy it. The software is also nice. It's fluid, it's snappy, it can sort through games, all of your ROMs, which is really nice. I do enjoy that. It feels great and it's comfortable to use. What more do you want? The screen looks great and the old clay looking color of this device does not really bother me all that much. The color It looks nice. And I mean, you can get it in like 9 different colors, so shouldn't be a problem. My biggest downside, as you all know, is I think this came out way too soon. It wasn't necessary right now. They could have waited and still been just as successful. Honestly, probably even more successful, because if you wait long enough, you have people who got the 3 and they're like, oh, it's been long enough, I can upgrade to the 3 Plus, even if it's just next year. They could have waited a little bit. But it's hard to knock this device too much because it's really great at the price range it's in. $150, can play some GameCube games, has a nice screen, nice design. It's not a bad device. It's just unnecessary right now. The device feels nice to use, like I've said, and any negative feedback that I gave in my original 3 review still stands here, aside from power related stuff like that. It's either just less noticeable, less annoying, or it's still here and I've just gotten used to it and it isn't as apparent anymore. But yeah, overall this device is great. I would definitely recommend it to anyone looking to get into the retro emulation scene, and if you want a device like this is the best one to get. I wouldn't really recommend the 3 anymore because it's too much. It's too much for too little. This is the perfect price for the chip. It has the same chip as the Palkity X18S, and I paid $20 more for that, so I think this is worth it. Alright guys, I'll see you in my holiday emulator buying guide video whenever that comes out, and my RG505 unboxing whenever that arrives. Whichever comes first, probably the holiday buying guide. I'll see you guys then, but for now, subscribe. Bye-bye. 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 I can't speak today. I don't know what's up with that.